Before I get into this video, just remember to follow me on Twitter. People keep telling me I should plug my Twitter more, so yeah, check that out, at Jackson Kruger. The link is in the description, but anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. Okay, so this is an interesting thing I wanted to talk about. This is probably going to be a short video, because I don't have a ton to bring up, but I find this to be interesting. So, it's been commonly said in the NFL that you can't really replicate having a good getting a lot of turnovers year after year. It doesn't tend to work out that way. And that there is some truth to that. There is some volatility. And definitely there are constantly teams who don't have the best defense that somehow end up in top 5 in turnovers. So that is a real thing, and turnover luck is a real thing. But what I wanted to do was look at the numbers and actually talk about how likely are you to get a lot of turnovers if you have a good defense, or get a little bit of turnovers if you have a bad defense. And so this chart right here is very interesting. So what you're looking at is, top 5 and bottom 5. What that means is if you were to top 5 in the league in turnovers or the bottom 5 in the league in turnovers, the average is where did your average placement be in terms of how good of a defense you were according to Pro Football Focus. So that's how I did this. How well does having a good defense translate into getting a lot of turnovers? And it actually translates really well, like significantly well. I did a very similar study or exercise when I did my research on what position groupings matter more, and very little came close to this. So the fact that there's this much correlation, I would say that's pretty significant. And to me, that tells me that no, actually, for the most part, if you have a good defense, you are going to get good amount of turnovers. It's not just luck. There's a small factor of luck in there, but maybe not as much as people think there is. Now, I will say that certainly luck plays a role. 24% of the, I also only did the past 5 years, so could have maybe done a bigger sample size, but I figured that would be fine. You don't need a crazy high sample size for something like this. But in the past 5 years, out of the 25 teams I did for the top 5, 24% of them were 16 or worse. So it was a lot of either you have a great defense or just like you randomly got lucky and happened to get in there. That tends to be how it worked. Perhaps the better way to view it is sort of more in a game in, game out basis. There's a lot of volatility because, you might force 3 turnovers in one game and then force 0 in the next game. Or let's say you force 4 in one game and then 0 in the next game. Well, that's 2 turnovers a game. That's amazing. That's fantastic. But you might end up going 1-1 because you lost one of the games that you didn't create any turnovers, and you beat maybe a team that was better than you because you got those 4 turnovers. So all of that is really compelling. And what's interesting is that a lot of people, myself included, have talked about with the Miami Dolphins, well, they're probably not going to replicate that turnover thing again. And on one hand, it's kind of true. Like, there is going to be some volatility, I would assume. And it does seem like where their defense was ranked and then how many turnovers they got a little bit lucky there because they were, again, Pro Football Focus had them rated as the 15th best defense. But again, that's including everything, so not just secondary. And I think they're lower on their secondary than most people are. But anyways, just because, people are saying, well, there's volatility, it'll probably fall down. At least according to this, not the most in-depth study ever you'll see, but some research shows that, maybe not really the case. There actually is some level of, controlling your own fate. But yeah, unless you guys think that this study was wrong and something else should be used instead, I just figured it'd be an interesting thing to talk about, something I thought of, and I was surprised by the results. I really was. I thought it would be, way closer than being nearly 15 spots away from each other. So, let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Actually, one more thing before I go. I even shut off the recording, but I wanted to turn it back on and talk about one more thing. Just real quick, for the bottom 5, there was almost no volatility. Averaging 24.2 placement there is crazy because, again, like the highest placement it could be would be, I believe that'd be 29.5. So very little volatility. Only one team had a, finished top 5 in turnovers that had a bottom 5 defense. So yeah, in conclusion, there's a lot of volatility in a specific game, not a lot of volatility over the course of a season. For the most part, if you're a good defense, you're going to get turnovers. Some volatility, of course. The average top 5 is still a top 10 team, so only half of those teams can make it, so there is some luck involved, of course, but maybe not as much as people realize. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.